Welcome to episode 7 of the Vital Doc Talk podcast. And today we have Andrey with me. And Andrey, welcome to the show. Why don't you give the audience a background of yourself?
Hey, Vlad, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. A little bit about myself is I run MedRocket.co. MedRocket is our digital agency, and we focus on the healthcare industry in terms of our digital marketing. And a little bit about myself is I actually started in I wanted to become an attorney. I went to law school. My goal was eventually to become a tax attorney. And then I actually started a business after I found out that my mom had gotten sick, and it made me basically kind of rethink my life because I was working at a 9-to-5 job in tax resolution. And after I found out that she got sick, I got that phone call that she was in the emergency room. I spent like 30 days in the ICU next to her every single day. And just kind of thinking about my life a little bit, thinking about what I was doing, thinking about my journey and my path. And that led me eventually to, well, not eventually, but at the time that led me to just suddenly quit my job and start my business, because that was always kind of on the back of my mind. And I wanted to claim my time freedom back and not have a boss and all that. And it was obviously a risky thing at the time. And I had started my first business in tax resolution because it was kind of the only thing I knew.
Nice.
And what I quickly realized was that after like a year of doing it, going through that grind and that hustle of, your first business, I realized that I didn't really have a passion anymore for the tax stuff. And I started really falling in love with the marketing stuff, just like being obsessed with the marketing stuff and really just finding a new calling in that area. And at the time it was really difficult because I had gone to law school, I had graduated, I was going down this path, but then my calling and my passion and my drive was pulling me in the marketing direction. So like I actually made the very difficult decision at the time to completely change the direction of where I was going and just do something that I was more passionate about, which was pursuing the marketing side of things. So I started a new business doing marketing, and I haven't looked back since. So yeah, that's a little bit about my backstory.
That's awesome. And that's funny. You talk about how, and you had to pivot during the past, and obviously that's going to be applicable to today, and you can give people tips there. And and you run MedRocket, so it's another marketing agency, guys.
Yeah.
And you guys might be wondering, why is Vlad, he runs a marketing agency interviewing another marketing agency? It's really because we over here, our number one value is care, and we believe in the win-win abundance mentality. There's just, healthcare is so huge, guys. So, just like me, I encourage you guys to, I don't even look at anybody as a competitor. I encourage you guys to look at other industry leaders that are in the same space. And it's always actually worked well talking to them for me personally. But so why don't we go into a little bit about, your clients, Andrey, because you mainly, just like us, right? You're focused on doctors. And obviously everybody, just even if two doctors are in the exact same practice and service, they'll differ. So why don't you go into your services and where you've seen success?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I want to definitely echo that point that you made about collaboration and looking at your competitors as people that you can learn from, that you can grow with, that you can support, that you can piggyback off of, right? Because the pie definitely is big enough, like you said, right? There's plenty. There's no way that one agency can service like the entire market by themselves, right? There's more to be gained from that collaborative mindset than from that aggressive dog eat dog kind of super competitive mindset. So that's really cool. That's why I'm super honored to be here with you today, because we share that mindset, which is really cool.
100%.
And yeah, just a little bit about kind of where we kind of seen success and our clients. Most of what we've traditionally done is very closely related to paid advertising and lead gen and lead management. So, just to give you a quick story about one of our clients, last year we had a quarter with one of our clients where we ran a Facebook advertising campaign to the local market.
Mhm.
And we generated $1 million in new patient sales within a
Wow.
quarter.
Wow.
And the way we did that was we set up a local lead generation campaign where we came up with a really solid hook for a way to basically get people to stop scrolling, um, get them to start kind of reading our advertising. And the way you do that is basically you give them a very compelling statistic. You ask them a very interesting question. You basically have to get their attention first before you deliver your marketing message, right? So we did that. We
Mhm.
created that ad. And then we created an automated system where we had immediate follow-up from all our marketing automation. So as soon as the potential patient submitted their information to that ad, we had voicemail drops, we had text messaging, we had email marketing going out. So we had an entire system to automate basically the immediate follow-up, because a lot of these leads they're very fickle and you really need to
Mhm.
follow up quickly. So you have to set up the proper automation in order to do that.
Mhm.
And then we had a compelling offer for the hospital. And what this hospital does is they offer preventative care kind of screens and diagnostics. So we had a free offer that basically got them in the door. And then once they came in the door, we had an upsell offer, which was basically a more comprehensive screening and blood work and scan. And that was 99% of the time covered by insurance, which a
Mhm.
lot of people had. So it was almost like a no-brainer for them to say yes to it. And that was like $1,000 charge per patient, and we had 1,000 new patients of those for our client in one
Mhm.
quarter, which is really awesome. So,
That's
so that's
fantastic.
kind of the stuff, yeah, that we've set up. And now because of like the COVID-19 kind of pandemic stuff, we've also pivoted a little bit in what your expertise is, which is SEO. And
Mhm.
obviously, if anybody is listening and you haven't talked to Vlad about SEO, I mean, I don't know what you're waiting for, because SEO is an incredible opportunity, because people are looking for you online, and if you can't be found, then you're losing a lot of real estate to your competition, because that's something that is a long-term investment that pays off huge if you really do it correctly. So that's
I
something
really
we're
appreciate
moving into.
that. Yeah, and definitely right. Google is huge online. Obviously, everybody uses it. So, but let's turning the tables back for you since you're the guest for this episode.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a bit more? Is there a certain type of doctor you like to take on, or what would you say makes a great doctor client? Right, because we've both serviced
Yeah.
doctors, right? Who's ready and who's not ready? I'm sure we both turn people away, right? So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts there. So.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the best clients are those that have a growth mindset, right? That they really kind of see online marketing as a really big opportunity, and they're willing to partner with an agency that can kind of lead them and guide them through that new kind of landscape. Because I notice sometimes that some doctors are very close-minded and they think that they already know things that they've never really done, because maybe they heard about it before, or like they read something online or something. So generally the
Mhm.
best clients are the ones that kind of see this opportunity and just are coachable and want to learn and want to grow, right, with the
Love
right
that.
partner agency. And the ones that also have like a back end system where they can follow up, that they can um, either like a call center team, or like several maybe front desk people that can follow up with these leads, or depending what their needs are. But usually they have a strong back end. It's not just like one doctor in like one office. Like it's they have a sophisticated kind of back end structure there.
That's a great point, because I just interviewed April Rhodes. I just posted that, and she specializes in back end office processes and,
Oh,
helping
cool.
them get in that position, right?
Yeah.
And that's 100%. What doctors that you've turned away, right? Like I've turned them away. What are those, right? Because what I like to recommend personally, this is just me, right? You're
Yeah.
obviously an expert as well in the field. I like to say, hey, this is your first year. You can't afford marketing, like real marketing dollars. It's not going to move the budget, at least for what we specialize in is search engine optimization, Google. I say, look, focus on your referral network. Go join the local, groups, the local chamber of commerce, whatever. Get your name out there, especially complimentary doctors. What's your tips for the doctors that just start that are maybe below 500K a year, what budget do you think they need to be able to willing to spend to actually make a difference, especially in, you know, online marketing and maybe Facebook, since you specialize in that?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because I'm sure that there are people that could be listening who maybe don't fit a certain criteria of certain kind of marketing budgets, right? So I the nice thing about advertising is that if you do it right, if it's local, if there's a well-targeted message, you can definitely get an ROI a lot faster, right, than something like more long-term,
Like SEO.
like SEO. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily need a ton of money, right? So for example, it really depends on how much you have to calculate your lifetime value for each new patient, right? Like you have to kind of understand, like, okay, the average patient that comes into the door, you know, we get like, whether it's $1,000 for like some type of comprehensive scan, or like, you know, $5,000, $10,000 for surgery, right? Obviously, the higher amount that each patient is worth to your practice, the more you can spend on advertising, which is nice, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if someone is, so I would first of all, like, have that understanding, like, how much can I spend to acquire a new patient? You know, so like in marketing, you know, we call that cost per acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
CPA.
so CPA, exactly, right? So so if you're a doctor who charges a lot of money for like a surgery or something, you're in a better position than somebody who charges a little bit of money, right? So assuming that the average doctor out there, maybe it's a chiropractor, maybe it's a dentist, you know, makes like, let's say $2,000 per new patient at a minimum, then it might make sense to hire an agency, you know, for like 2,000 a month or something, to allocate a budget for them for like maybe like $1,000, like, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
because if you just get two new patients with that money, you're already in the positive, like you made an
Mm-hmm.
ROI. And that's not a ridiculously unheard of metric, right? Like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
hired an agency, they brought me two new clients in the first month or two, right? Like that's pretty common, right? So marketing is a numbers driven game.
Mm-hmm.
So and if you're kind of scared to hire an agency, then maybe start running an ad yourself, right? Like start testing the waters, you know, go to YouTube, and type in how to run a local Facebook ad, and dip your feet in, because you have a lot of doctors. The nice thing, the thing that I like about this niche is those high lifetime value clients, or patients, right? So there is a lot of leeway for doctors to dip their feet into the water, and try new things on their own.
Great. I mean, those are all great pieces of advice, right? Because for me, for SEO, I tell them, you know, around 9 months to see the results they want. And I tell them they at least better be willing to spend about 2,500 plus a month, right? We've done campaigns for as large as 11.2 thousand. And I understand that's not, you know, normal. 11.2K, I should say, 11,200. But
Right.
for you, what's the minimum, right? Like if a doctor's out there, maybe their practice is 3 months old, do you think they should still spend, I don't know, $200 a month and try a Facebook campaign? Do you think that's still worth it? And where would they go to do that if that's true?
Yeah, 100%. Because so if you're, I mean, just from a generic kind of fundamentals of marketing kind of approach, right? Like when you get started, personally, the way I approach marketing is I'm thinking about like an investment portfolio, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
diversify my approaches. I want to see what works and what doesn't, especially early
Mm-hmm.
on, because once I identify what's working really, really well, then I can double down on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yeah, you might, you're not getting the data if you're not running any ads, and that data can be very valuable data for you to be able to understand your market, be able to help you pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe for example, joining your local chamber of commerce and sending like a sponsored email to the database of the chamber of commerce members. Maybe you find out that if you spend $100 on that email, you get 3 new patients that make you $6,000. That's a
Mm-hmm.
massive ROI, right? And if you never spent that money, you would never have that data, because now you could do that email once a month, right? Same thing for like Facebook advertising or any other type of advertising. The faster you can get that data and test the waters, the faster you're in a position to double down and to grow fast. So you can either learn it yourself. You can, like I said, go to YouTube and type, how to run a Facebook ad, or you can partner with an agency and have them kind of guide you. And I recommend the agency if, again, you have a kind of like a higher lifetime value for each client.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the wise way to go. Just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't change my own oil because I don't know how to how to do that necessarily, even though I can probably YouTube it. But I'd rather hire a
Sure.
professional for the peace of mind and for the
Just like you don't do your own
result.
heart surgery, right? Like there's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's actually
your
a
doctor
better and more
services. Yeah.
applicable analogy. Yeah, for sure.
No, that makes a lot of sense, right? Just like you don't do your own doctor services, but there is levels, right? And
Yeah,
that's why I want to cover
exactly.
both spectrums.
Yep.
What's your minimum price? So for us, I like $3,000 plus for the clients I work with. What about you? Do you have a minimum price for clients?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's customized per hospital, because obviously there's different kind of levels of service, different customizable options that are specific to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say, yeah, minimum probably 2,000, anything less than 2,000 as a
It's tough.
management fee. Yeah, it wouldn't be justified. It wouldn't
Yeah.
allow us to give us the level of service that would benefit the clients the most. But there are other agencies that I've seen them charge maybe like 1,000,
Yeah.
like 750. And I'm not gonna, knock on them. I mean, if they have the case studies, if they have the experience, if they have the customer service, then by all means, if you have a very, very low budget, you may want to try that out. I do caution
The
against
super
certain
cheap Fiverr.
agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Stay away from like like maybe like overseas people who may not, it's not because they're overseas, but just because the communication barriers are very different. Communication, like, so, and I know you probably understand this, lad, but like when anyone that hires an agency, it's almost like a business partnership. Like, you want them
100%.
to take ownership of your business. You want to be able to ask them questions. You want to be able to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Just because it's your business, it's your advertising money, it's your marketing dollars, and you need to be able to make informed decisions about that marketing money, right? So like, if you can't communicate extremely well with that agency, then you're not in a position to make really good decisions, and then you're going to feel awkward and bad, and like, it's just not going to be a good relationship. So you're probably better off like hiring like your nephew or your niece to like, to go and
Experiment.
Google, experiment with your ad money. Yeah. So that's something to be cautious of. And also, and yeah, and just yeah, and data is important, right? Like case studies, like, hey, tell me a story about what you did for a client and how you did it, and why you think that my situation is similar to that client, where you can replicate the result, right? Because although results are never guaranteed, the agency should be reasonably confident that, like, okay, look, we did some research, we saw that there's this many people in your local market that fit your criteria. You have the back end to manage those leads that we can potentially send you. We're averaging like $8 per lead, and this, so they should have a roadmap for you, a blueprint. If they're
Yeah.
just completely saying like, oh no, there's zero guarantees, I mean, who knows? We'll try our best, right? If you don't sense that they're reasonably confident, then they're probably going to treat your marketing dollars like that. Like, okay, yeah,
100%. And I agree with that. In fact, so initially we had 20 different clients. One of my they're still in the healthcare niche clients. They charge $200 a month purposefully because they know that such a low price point, the person's not going to do as much research. And I would say that's where it can get very dangerous. I know a guy who spent 12 months with an SEO campaign, because that's my world, right? He spent like $1,500 a month for a full year. 1 year of SEO, 15, right? Basically threw away about 20K with them, and then that really dampened his campaign. And luckily now we close him as a client, but that's the danger. So make sure there's referrals, testimonials. They know your industry very well. So I'm with you as well, right? Like if it's below 2,000, maybe you have 1,500, then you can look for somebody. But below then I would say start learning. Invest in yourself first. You have to know the
yeah,
basics before you work with an agency. You should know that ROI is return on investment. You should know what your customer acquisition cost is. So then when you speak to agencies, you can speak at a good level. What would your tips be for I guess a doctor that is stuck now in the coronavirus moment, right? Obviously, if they can't afford the 1,500 a month, I would also urge them, hey, if you want to do Facebook go to Andre and say, hey, I want to pay a couple hours for consulting. That's something
Yes.
we've done, right? I did that with Dr. Jessica, who I had on the podcast, right? She spent $450. I told her, if you don't have 6 months of savings, don't talk to me. Coronavirus hit. I look like a genius. I look great. I was happy, right? But same
Yeah.
thing with you. I'd urge them to reach out to you and ask for a couple hours of consulting, and then, you know, call it. But now, right, in coronavirus, what do you think doctors should be doing?
Oh man. Well, they should definitely be learning and leveling up their knowledge, you know, because this is a great opportunity, not obviously not from a healthcare standpoint, because people are suffering and we should be mindful of that. But from kind of an entrepreneurial standpoint, it is a good opportunity to kind of skill up and learn and become resourceful again and become knowledgeable and pivot if we have to, right? Do whatever we need to do to in the marketplace to be there for people, lead people through this crisis in a way where it's beneficial for the long-term health of our businesses as well, right? Because we have a business to run. So doctors should definitely be, you know, learning something, learning about their immediate market, learning about all these tactics that I'm sure you talk on this podcast about,
Mm-hmm.
you know, reading the books, you
Mm-hmm.
know, just, it's not a time to be complacent. It's not a time to kind of see it as like a vacation. It's a time to really double down because, you know, things are getting rough. Things are getting, um, like the people who rise during times like these are usually people who seize the opportunities and double down on the market share, right? So like, for example, a lot of people are scared to spend marketing dollars during this time. And rightfully so. I understand like why it's a scary kind of prospect
Mm-hmm.
to invest in marketing. However, I guarantee that there are people out there, and I know them because I work with them or I've seen them, right? That double down on their marketing now because they know that their competitors are retreating,
Yep.
and so they have way more opportunity. Plus, like a time, I'm sure you've heard, but like advertising dollars are significantly down right now. They're like 25% plus down. You know,
Wow.
so it used to cost like, let's say, you know, for the sake of a round number, like $10 to acquire a lead from like a Facebook ad, let's say. Now it's like 750 or and below because again, the way that advertising works, it's like a bidding system. So with less players in the market, it's actually cheaper. So people are getting more
Yeah.
leads for the same amount of money, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
It may not apply to like your specific practice if like your doors are closed, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have to come up with new offers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like maybe an offer that you can come up with as a hospital is like being able to do remote consultations through Zoom or Skype, and because maybe you've never offered that before, and now it's the time to innovate and start offering that service so that people don't have to leave their house in order to get some medical benefit from your practice, right? So yeah, wherever you're at in your journey, whether it's coming up with new offers, learning new skills, doubling down on marketing, right? This is the time to innovate and to kind of push all your chips in and to outmaneuver your competitors, so to speak.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's I 100% agree, right? Because costs, especially Facebook. So I urge you guys, obviously, to reach out to Andre out there and talk to him about Facebook because it is definitely much cheaper on the advertising side. And if you've taken a huge hit and you don't want to play the longer term game with SEO right now, you know, then you should go and you can get that return on investment quickly, you know, and learn more, right? It's not just Facebook and SEO. Both me and him could talk about other channels, right? Conversion rate optimization,
Right.
you know, just updating your website, email lists, etc., stuff like that. So, and my alarm went off, Andre, because I want to respect your time. And so the last question I want to ask you
Yeah.
is the takeaway. Like if doctors are watching this, right, and you wanted them to take one action step out there to help get their business to the next level, what would you say they should be doing or implementing?
Yeah. So one action stuff right now is, you know, you kind of alluded there to it a little bit, is if you have like an email list of current patients, um, this is the time to be emailing them and reaching out to them and making sure that they're good, that they're fine, that they're okay, that you know, just basically leading them through this crisis, right? Because everyone is in the same boat in a lot of ways because there's a lot of uncertainty out there, there's a lot of fear out there. So if you position yourself as somebody, you know, during this time as somebody who cared about like their current patients maybe gave them some special offers, or maybe accommodated them in different ways. Maybe, like I said, through like remote Skype sessions, or through new offers or new opportunities, just to make them feel just a little better. Whatever that looks like in your specific niche. Maybe if you're a dentist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a hospital, right? Like there are different things you can do just to make people feel better during this time. And from a branding standpoint, and just from a humanitarian standpoint, right? If you're a hospital or a business that leads them through this process by keeping them informed, by reaching out to them, maybe through email, maybe through like text messages, if you have their phone numbers, right? Like there are systems, there are processes that you can implement. Then I think it'll leave a lasting impact in their minds of like you as an industry leader, somebody that was there during a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just pay dividends just from a branding standpoint, from just making sure that your people, the people who've already invested in your services, are good and they feel good. I think that's really important right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's a golden tip, right? Because your clients, just like you, they're sitting at home right now, right? They're concerned too. So you, as the leader of your organization, right? Especially, I think in the last episode, I interviewed Dr. Daniel in one of the previous ones, and he said that when he actually reached out, he's doing telehealth for his new telehealth pivot for his practice. When he reached out, people were a lot more receptive than his assistants. When they reached out, people were kind of unsure, right? His patients. But if you guys make the commitment to do that yourselves, then you'll be in a much better position. So that's a gold tip, Andrey. And obviously, doctors should definitely reach out to you. Where can they find you? What is your contact info?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you can just go to medrocket.co. That's not .com, that's .co. So medrocket.co.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to kind of set up a time to talk, there's a form that you can kind of quickly fill out, and then I'll reach out to you personally myself. If you tell me that you came from Vlad's podcast, I'll definitely make sure to do that. Because this is the time that we live in, right? Like I also want to practice what I preach, and I want to be there for people and support them as best I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrey, for being on the podcast. And that's another episode of Vital Talk. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.